My dear, loyal brothers, firstly, you are sending the good news that those who have completed the first duty are beginning the second. The Miracles collection prompted me to offer endless thanks to the most merciful of the merciful, who has bestowed such true brothers on me in this work for religious belief. Proceeding from its use of the Qur'anic script, the first duty displayed a wonder on the opening, in the center of a course for the Qur'anic script. God willing, the second duty will display an even more miraculous wonder. Secondly, it will be more beneficial and appropriate if Konya Sabri communicates with me through you, because for the most part you can do what he wants in my place. For instance, since the scholars can assist to the fullest extent by doing corrections, the corrections should be done there by them. You can send them some of the copies I have corrected previously. Truly, the question of corrections is most important. Sometimes an error in a letter or a point even can cause the valuable meaning to be lost. First of all, those who write out copies should compare them thoroughly, then give them to the correctors. MashaAllah, there are very few errors in the staff of Moses collections that have reached me recently, and they have been corrected to an extent. May God be pleased with both those who wrote them out and those who corrected them. Amin. Thirdly, the Tunisian Hoca Hashmet, who lives in Yozgat and is interested in the Risale-i Nur, heard firstly that I had died, and then that I was alive, and sent 2 sincere letters here. Send him my greetings. Fourthly, we have made Rushdi's heroic brother, Burhan, a partner in our spiritual gains, since he has for a long time performed valuable services for the Risale-i Nur in times of need despite being unlettered. Including him among the select students, we mention him by name in our prayers every day. It is a meaningful coincidence that just when describing my wide-ranging anxieties at the non-arrival of Hüsrev's and Sabri's letters, numerous letters arrived in unexpected fashion, which dispelled all those comprehensive worries. I send my greetings to all my brothers. My dear, loyal brothers, and true friends on the way of truth and eternity, the private letters that have arrived here from the Kastamonu villagers and champions of the Risale-i Nur and the devotees of Safranbolu deserve replies, but neither my situation nor my time permits this, so they should not be offended if I send a short reply via yourself. Firstly, the letters of Hilmi, Ihsan, Emin, and Taşköprülü Sadık filled me with joy. In truth, these brothers performed in 9 months in prison 9 years of service for the Risale-i Nur, and came shoulder to shoulder with the Sparta champions. I shall never ever forget all they did for my welfare, for the unity and cooperation of our friends in the prison, and for the new parts of the Risale-i Nur. May God be eternally pleased with them and with you. Frequently I travel eagerly in the imagination to those times and to the places we used to make excursions to in Kastamonu and Barla. I sit down there and weep and gaze at those friends of mine in the imagination. Mustafa Osman and Hıfzı, may God have mercy on him, wrote a short letter that resembled the powerful expressions and fine handwriting of the hero Sadık, and sent the greetings of the Safranbolu students. I wondered if Sadık had gone there, or whether they had gone to him, or was there another brother called Sadık? More than anyone else, it is the duty of the loyal people of Barla to work with all their strength at writing out the Risale-i Nur. For Barla has won the honor of being the first Risale-i Nur school, so it is not permissible to leave it without students. God willing, it will again be filled. May God's blessings be upon those who are working, and may He grant them success. Amin. Secondly, the 2 letters of Osman and Ahmed, 2 of Safranbolu's loyal students, show their extraordinary loyalty and attachment to the Risale-i Nur. MashaAllah, Osman has in a short time both learned the Qur'an and has written out pieces of the Risale-i Nur and is now writing out the staff of Moses. He is a true brother of the devoted Mustafa Osman, and Hıfzı and Ahmed is truly devoted as well. There are deficiencies in the writing of the letter, and I couldn't make out what he was saying. I sent many greetings to them and to my brothers in Safranbolu and Kastamonu and around there, and I offered prayers for them and request their prayers. I sent greetings to each and every one of our brothers of the Medreses-i Zehra in Sparta and the region and pray for their peace and well-being. Said Nursi. My dear loyal brothers, I was worrying because I hadn't received Hüsrev's letter written by himself, and no reply had arrived concerning the collections I had sent to Konya, and because our enemies and foremost the Minister of the Interior together with the anarchists were all pressurizing me, and because some of the dissemblers here had learned from certain simple-hearted friends of ours that I had sent books to both Eskişehir and Konya and had received the staff of Moses collections. Then, suddenly in unprecedented fashion in this season, 1.5 meters of snow fell and there was a terrible blizzard and cold spell. I wondered if such anger and wrath could be connected with the Risale-i Nur and its students, like the 4 earthquakes and drought last year. I asked if the calamity was general or just limited to the provinces of Afyon and Eskişehir, and they replied that it was limited to them. So I exclaimed, "All praise be to God. That means there is no general attack on the Risale-i Nur and its students, only on myself and the treatises I have with me." I had reckoned that Eskişehir, which I so trusted, would be a Nur school like Denizli, but it remained at 10 degrees below Denizli, the reason for which was the situation scaring them, like with Afyon and Emirdağ. Anyway, don't worry. Just like with the Istanbul secular schools, God willing, this weather incident has caused the coward Masons to give up the new assault they were intending. Divine Providence is protecting us. Secondly, this time I received 7 or 8 letters. My situation, pen, and time do not permit me to write personal replies, so don't be offended. We added the letters from Mehmet Feyzi and Emin to the additional letters without touching them. I did not interfere with them, since both of them have served me personally for 8 years, and their descriptions, which far exceed my due, are a sort of prayer and source of encouragement and contentment, and a sign of goodwill and loyalty towards their master, insofar as he is the interpreter of the Risale-i Nur and of their belief and attachment. And it is appropriate that Feyzi's description of his mother's beautiful, luminous death due to the lessons of the Risale-i Nur, a shining example of how it comes to the aid of its students at the time of death and other times of difficulty, should be included among the additional letters. An immediate reply to Halil Ibrahim's letter asking numerous questions about the whys and wherefores of divine decree and determining would allow us to strive to perform good works and would attract everyone's attention to the Risale-i Nur and get them to read it. But since it would call to mind some sort of objection to divine decree and determining, it would be inappropriate for general circulation in the additional letters. However, the sections and invocations at the end of the letter taken from Cevşen el-Kebir are very fine. Thirdly, Hüsrev's letter telling of the eager services for the Risale-i Nur performed by Lame Ali of Atabey and Kazım of Eğirdir prompt even spirit beings to praise and applaud them. And the letter to me of 14-year-old Mustafa Yeşil of Aliköy'ü and his father describing their services for both the Qur'an and the Risale-i Nur and all the innocents of that village working for the Risale-i Nur through the efforts and endeavors of the 3 Alis, draw not only myself but all the Nur students to applaud them and offer thanks. Fourthly, Abdurrahman Salahaddin's belated condolences at the end of the letter Feyzi wrote on the occasion of his mother's death, and his writing in a postscript that he did not accept that I had died, and that in some way Gawsul Azam's protection had passed to the staff of Moses, made me weep for joy. Also, the Safranbolu heroes participating in the epics of Mehmet Feyzi and Emin, and a general course for the Arabic script, and letters being inaugurated in the center of government, and this being a sign of the step of Moses' conquests, and its wonder-working and good tidings, caused me the greatest joy, and reduced to nothing all the distress I had suffered this winter. Mullah Mehmed of Tabas, one of Denizli's devoted hard-working people, has sent a letter which is short in words, but long in meaning, from which I understood that he did not believe that I had died either, and that he attributes to me much greater worth than is my due. I send many greetings both to him and to my brothers whom I met in prison, and to Feyzi and Hafiz Mustafa and their friends. Said Nursi, who sends greetings to all the brothers, and who experiences the healing property of your prayers. My dear loyal brothers, firstly, we included in the additional letters, in the name of all the innocents and champions of Sawa, this fine sincere piece of Ahmed, one of all the innocents of the Nur school. MashaAllah, it shows that Haji Hafiz Mehmed has a valuable grandson who closely resembles him. Secondly, I was exceedingly pleased that the two grandchildren of one of the leading Nur students in Safranbolu, Hıfzı, one aged 10 and the other 8, are writing out the Step of Moses collection, and that they wrote a letter telling me they were about to finish it. Thirdly, one reason for the grievous difficulties inflicted on me this winter was that they isolated me from everyone so that I should not assist in the liberal parties smashing the absolute tyranny of the people from Salonika. But the Risale-i Nur speaks with thousands of tongues in my place and demolishes disbelief and apostasy and defeats anarchy. The letter written by the late Salih Yeşil to the Interior Minister Hilmi Uran. Due to his writings being misunderstood and misinterpreted, for years the innocent Bediüzzaman Mullah Said, who is genuine, sincere, and harbors no aims other than Islam, has been forced to live in confinement. I am writing this private petition purely in the name of humanity, so that that innocent man may live in peace either where he is or on being moved to Ankara, and that he may receive recompense in his old age for the services he performed in his youth, which are now forgotten. I request your honored self that you do not refuse this and read this petition in person. I offer my deepest respects and thanks. Who is Mullah Said? Mullah Said, who at present is obliged to reside in the town of Emirdağ in Afyon province, has lived since his birth among his Turkish brothers and has acquired the traits of the Turks. He fought as a voluntary militia commander in the snowy mountains of Caucasia during the Great War together with our heroic soldiers. He moved from place to place to give them guidance and was awarded the War Medal. He fought in the Battle of Sarıkamış. He was wounded and fell prisoner at the fall of Bitlis and suffered for years as a Russian prisoner of war. He escaped and on returning to Istanbul was appointed to the Darül Hikmet el-İslamiye for his knowledge and learning. On the formation of the national forces, he urged the people to join the struggle, and coming to Ankara during the first year of the parliaments, performed services in the Hacı Bayram guest house, explaining the necessity to many hastened people of defending the country. Because the works this truly patriotic person has written primarily about worship, faith, and the tenets of belief do not conform to the regime and the approach of certain persons who dislike religion and religious people, especially the opportunist Şükrü Kaya, who at present occupies the post of Interior Minister, the unfortunate Mullah Said has suffered the wretchedness of around 20 years imprisonment and exile as a result of baseless accusations and false reports. 2 years ago, on the pretext of those reports, handcuffs were clapped on his wrists, and being taken from his torturous abode in Kastamonu, was sent to Denizli prison together with 66 people whose sole crime was to have greeted him. His works, which were deemed so harmful, were scrutinized for months, firstly by a committee in the Istanbul Mufti's office, then by a commission consisting of members of the Directorate of Religious Affairs and the Institute of Language and History, who could find not the slightest matter in any of his works, that might infringe state policies or disturb public order. In consequence, having been imprisoned for 11 months, Mullah Said, the Nur students, and those who had read his works were released on the order of the court. But although this elderly man had been permitted to reside in Denizli, a short time later he was sent away to Afyon and from there to the town of Emirdağ, where he was prevented from having contact with any of his Turkish brothers. Respected sir, this elderly person has been deprived of the liberties recognized by the Republic and the Constitution. He is an Islamic thinker who, having no family or relatives, in every way deserves the protection and support of an Islamic government. According to what the famous late poet Mehmet Akif Bey recounted, an article about Said entitled Fatin el-Asr, Genius of the Age, published around 20 years ago in the newspaper El-Ahram by Abdulaziz Jebish, a leading scholar of Egypt who knew several Western languages and was familiar with philosophy, was read by scholars there who had met him in person and appreciated his powerful knowledge and struggles in God's way. Esteemed sir, Mullah Said is by nature a lover of the Turks and a servant of Islam, yet he has suffered insults and been belittled as a Kurd. Footnote: being students of the Risale-i Nur, thousands of worthy Turkish youths, children, and old people have hastened this strange age to defend Islam, just like the Turkish nation hastened to its aid on the collapse of the Abbasid state. All lovers of truth applaud this fact, not just Said, and love the Turks. Society in our country will suffer no harm from him, rather, it will profit morally and spiritually. I testify on my honor that Mullah Said is guiltless and a person of integrity. My request, therefore, in the name of humanity, from far-seeing persons like yourself who have laid hands on the nation's government and destiny, is that in conformity with the justice of government, your high office, and equity and generosity, justice be accorded this person who, due to the malicious words of informers, has been deprived of the bounty of freedom, of breathing fresh air, and of meeting with any of his Turkish brothers, and that at least once he be granted a meeting with good will. After this, whether you graciously rule on his remaining or on his departing, you will have performed your weighty duty within the law and will have added an admirable act to the record of your life. You will have shown your love of justice to the people and to free-thinking historians like myself who have lost a leg and are now outside of politics. One-legged Yeşiloğlu Mehmet Salih, former deputy for Erzurum, who loves his nation and country more than his life, and who evinces not the slightest trace of Kurdish, Albanian, or Bosnian nationalism. My esteemed brother in religion, for 40 days I have been preoccupied with you as I lie ill. Owing to what I have heard and imagined, in line with the believer is beset by many tribulations, it seems to me that you must be suffering some indisposition. Around 10 days ago, I called from my window to someone who was selling pure Afyon butter and brought some from him. My intention was to ask about you. I was very upset to learn that you had been exiled to Emirdağ and that its people were forbidden to meet with you. My esteemed brother, the person writing this letter to you is the former Erzurum deputy, Yeşiloğlu Mehmet Salih, who 31 years ago was with you during the Great War in the Esat Pasha Medrese in Erzurum and the snowy Caucasian mountains, and 24 years ago, when I was a deputy, met you in the hall of the parliament building together with your friend, the governor of Van, Haydar Bey. Mehmet Salih. The reply to Yeşil Salih. My dear brother Hasan Efendi, please write on my behalf to our esteemed brother Salih Efendi and tell him that till the end of my days I shall never forget this humanitarian act of his, and that I am most grateful and send many greetings and offer prayers for him. Nevertheless, I have decided to endure every sort of difficulty. Moreover, I don't expect any kindnesses from those leaders. Said Nursi. You sent me a copy of the Staff of Moses, which is not bound and has only a yellow paper cover. The handwriting slightly resembles Hüsrev's, but it has the name Mustafa at the top. Who is it? Which Mustafa? The copy also has 13-year-old Hatice, Ahmed's daughter, written on it. Which Ahmed is this? May God's blessings be upon both of them. It is heroic for one of the innocent children to write out at the age such a long book most carefully, beautifully, and correctly, and showing the coincidences. Whoever sees it will applaud it. It will also fire the enthusiasm of the women here who have been to school. Our brother Nazif's letter is important. In truth, there are many people in America who are devotedly attached to religion for religion's sake, not for political ends. God willing, the person who got hold of a copy of the Staff of Moses is one of them. Keçeli Selahaddin is just like Abdurrahman. He does not want to lag behind his father in heroism. He also makes us look to this world from time to time, although it is not our custom. If that American scholar of standing wants the whole Risale-i Nur and says he will publish it, we can give him good set after having consulted with you. Sent with Nazif's letter was a question about a retired person's doubts. If he is seriously interested in the Risale-i Nur, there is no need for him to ask such questions. He should read the 13th flash on the meaning of I seek refuge with God from Satan the accursed, and the part of the 29th word about the existence of the angels and spirit beings. As for his meaningless doubts, there are answers to them in 100 places in the Risale-i Nur. Atheistic materialists have seized the opportunity in the present ghastly conditions and inculcated such doubts in people. This man has been affected by them and asked that question. I send him my greetings. The Risale-i Nur can solve all his difficulties. He should work at it sincerely and with acquiescence and should listen to it. The letter from Marangoz Ahmed, who is one of the old and new heroes of the Nur school, pleased and gratified me in 3 or 4 ways. Bearing the name of the school's leading student, this Ahmed is both performing the duties of the late Hafiz Ali and together with a valuable brother like Suleiman and his young daughter, has written out 3 copies of the Staff of Moses. This, together with his being the grandson of the blessed Hasan Dayı, alleviated my anxiety and greatly pleased me. May Almighty God restore him to good health and grant them success and happiness. Amin, Amin. The 2 brothers of the late Hafiz Mehmet are carrying out his duties, and Mustafa's handwriting confirms with Hüsrev's pleasant script, which pleased me as greatly as 2 newly discovered Hafiz Mehmets. Through the efforts of the heroic carpenter, the preacher from Gökdere and his 3 sons have become students of the Risale-i Nur and have started writing it out. I congratulate both them and the carpenter and their village, and I have added the verses he recited to them to the additional letters. I was truly cheered up by the long letter written by lame Ali Osman from Atabey, and his seriously and effectively working at spreading the Staff of Moses and the Risale-i Nur, and by Çilingir Ali, who worked so hard at serving the Risale-i Nur, and his uncle Hasan helping him, and their blessed dreams and coincidences. It made me love Eğirdir even more. May the most merciful of the merciful be pleased with them. This is somewhat confidential. Evidence that their plans and conspiracy against me last winter, which were thwarted as a result of the patience and endurance I showed through divine providence and your prayers, were very extensive, was the President announcing recently in Afyon that he surmised that a disturbance connected with religion would break out in the province. That is to say, a secret society wanted to provoke an incident by harassing me. But their completely illegal and arbitrary ill treatment and treacherous persecution, which rile me excessively and intended to provoke foreign intervention to the harm of Muslims and this country, gain for them only harm in this world and hell in the next, and for us reward and victory in this world and paradise in the next, God willing. Evidently, the cabinet and president pursued this secret plan because all the officials around here, and even the governor, kaymakam, and police avoid me and are scared. I was amazed at this. But anyone with a grain of sense has understood that we have nothing but light and Risale-i Nur, and that we do not wield the club of politics. It is strange, but the officials who should have worked most in our favor were employed and used against us. The Nurjus have to be extremely circumspect, careful, and calm-headed, for there are storms in the air and cunning dissemblers insinuate themselves everywhere. They infiltrate the liberty-seeking parties although they are anti-religious and support absolute despotism so that they might corrupt them and learn their secrets and divulge them. Also, in connection with Salahuddin giving the staff of Moses to the American, we say this. It is essential that missionaries and pious Christians, as well as Nurjus, are extremely careful, for certainly with the idea of defending itself against the attacks of the religions of Islam and Christianity, the current from the north will try to destroy the accord of Islam and the missionaries, making concessions to the lower classes and inviting the middle classes to assist the common people through the obligatory payments of the purification tax and the prohibition of interest and usury, and preventing them from tyrannizing them. They may deceive the Muslims, and giving them privileges may draw them over to their side. However, this time I have broken my rule for your sake and consider it worldly affairs. Said Nursi. My dear loyal brothers, I am compelled to reply to your very relevant letters with a single short one. Firstly, Rafat's questions have led to the emergence of numerous luminous truths. He is both teaching the Qur'an and the Risale-i Nur to innocent children, and himself being busy with the flashes, and he is helping me and Husrev with the corrections, and he is endeavoring to give fair-minded scholars in Istanbul copies of the Staff of Moses deserve congratulation. But for now, his new question cannot be answered, for the time has not yet come. The heroic Burhan gave a fine answer to the leader of the Free Party. The Nurjus are not concerned with politics. Their whole lives are tied to the truth of belief alone. Up till now, members of a secret society who have exploited politics for irreligion and atheism have crushed the Nurjus with absolute despotism. God willing, a cause will emerge which will break that despotism and deliver the innocent, oppressed Nurjus. Footnote: the Democrat Party was founded and broke it to an extent. However, one has to be extremely careful and cautious. Since the Risale-i Nur is superior to all the currents in the world and belongs to everyone, it cannot follow or enter one side. It rather assists the just side against the aggressively anti-religious. It is friendly towards the just side and is like a point of support and reserve force for it. But this is not an account of politics. Nevertheless, some of the brothers may enter politics in their own name, not that of the Risale-i Nur, in order to secure its publication and interests. Especially since up to the present blessed Sparta has been the Nur Madrasa, and its opponents have not caused too much harm, not to take sides internally might be a means of those opponents repenting and returning to the truth. But you know this better than I do. Salahuddin's letter is important in several respects. Of course, the American scholars will not be indifferent towards the Staff of Moses. It will make conquest if those who love religion for religion's sake obtain copies of it, for if others get hold of it, it is doubtful that they will try to publish and spread it due to feelings of jealousy like our egotistical Hojas. However, we assign the matter to divine providence.